Hi everybody, welcome to Daddy's Game Time. Today I'm here at Fanime 2016 with a very special guest.
I'm Gilles Poitras, author of the Anime Companion, Anime Essentials, Anime Companion 2, and I just blabber a lot about Japanese stuff.
Excellent, that's what we're here for today. Now, manga and Japanese animation has been around for a long time. When did you first get started or get hooked into this culture that they have?
Basically, when I was a kid, you saw things occasionally, but they were just cool cartoons. You know, you didn't think of it as Japanese or American. But in 1977, I finished my BA, I was getting ready to go to grad school. I'd already become a bit of a cinema buff. I'd go see movies, I would watch the movie, I'd go get a drink, I'd go sit back down, and I would sit there during the second showing, looking at the camera work, the editing process, the way silence and music were used in the movie, just kind of absorbing it. I wasn't doing it academically, I wasn't reading books on it, I was just absorbing it. 77, I'm walking through Japantown in San Francisco. There's a store named Mikado, and in the window, they're showing a science fiction anime. I look at it and I go, oh, that's cool. And I go, wait a minute, this is cinematographic. It's got pans, it's got tilts, it's got distance, field focusing work, all sorts of things, camera work that you almost never saw in American animation.
And this was 77 we're talking about.
Yeah, 77. So it's the type of stuff that you would see in an expensive theatrical feature. And this was a low-budget TV show. So that was impressive, and that kind of got me hooked. So for years, I would occasionally run into somebody who knew something, occasionally see something at an art house theater. But there wasn't much available in the 70s and 80s. And I didn't have a TV, so I didn't know what was on TV. Then in 1990, a friend of mine called me up, UC Berkeley. He says, UC Berkeley's got a Japanese animation club. They're meeting tonight. My immediate response was, where do you want to have dinner? So I started going to the Cal Animage Alpha meetings at UC Berkeley, and I did that regularly for quite a few years. Learned so much. Admittedly, in the early days, you were watching something that was a videotape, copy of a copy of a copy that was blurry, and there was no projector. It was a TV monitors mounted on the wall, and you were given a sheet of paper that listed the characters and had a synopsis of the story. You had to memorize that because when they turned the lights out, you couldn't read it. So, and it was the most incredible, cool thing we could see because the only way you could get it.
Wow,
and of course, over time it's changed.
That's really cool. It reminds me of my high school days where we used to try to get wrestling matches from Japan that weren't televised here in the States. And we always had this one friend that would say, I have a friend who has a friend who just came back from Japan. They got these, and we'd get these VHS tapes that were videotaped 3 times, so the quality was terrible.
Right.
But there we were sitting around the television screen enjoying these matches.
Oh yeah.
Now, back then, was this something that was widely used amongst people of your age, or was it you were kind of on the outside from whatever was mainstream?
Yeah, for a lot of it, I was on the outside of organized fandom because I was busy with grad school and relationship. The people who were on the inside, it was tape trading. There were guys in Japan who would tape things and send it to people in the U.S. My understanding is Rob Miles, who's here at the convention, he was in Japan at the time, and so he was taping things and sending them back here. Part of what they call the CFO, Cartoon Fantasy Organization, which grew out of science fiction fandom. And then, so that was the early days of tape trading. Sometimes it was somebody here would tape, an American science fiction TV show and send it to Japan, and guys in Japan would tape stuff there and send it here. You never knew what you were going to get. It would probably include really cool commercials for toys and stuff, if it was like straight off TV. So it was quite a cultural experience,
I'm getting flashbacks right now as we're speaking. It takes me back to when I was 7 years old, and I was used to cartoons that we show here, like Voltron, they would show He-Man, etc. And my mother took us to Mexico for vacation, and I would say a good 90% of what was on television for children was Japanese anime. and that's when I was first introduced to Mazinger Z, as you know, we would call him Mazinger Z.
Yeah.
What was that first experience like for you?
Well, the very first experience, actually, I didn't know it was Japanese. I just knew it was incredibly cool. Was Tezuka, the movie Sayuki, based on Tezuka's manga, was shown in the U.S. in 1963, based on the old Journey to the West story. I mean, it was redubbed into English for Frankie Avalon and everything, and all of the singing songs were redone in English. It was like a Disney-style musical type thing. But it had some of the most interesting demons and nasty critters in the world. And as a kid, I remember walking out with my friends and our eyes are this big around. We're going, God, that was cool. And there was nothing like that again in our childhoods.
Right.
You know, because, you know, yeah, you could get Astro Boy, you could get Speed Racer. I couldn't. It wasn't on our local TV. You know, I'd hear about it. I had friends who watched Ultraman. I never saw it because it wasn't on our local TV, you know. But it was part of that entertainment mix, and so us it was just cartoons, and we wanted to see more like it, but we just couldn't get it. I remember actually old black and white silent cartoons, which were just action done to music, which more recently I've discovered were Japanese, and they were on TV. So that was it, but when it consciously became known as something that wasn't American, it was an import, is when I stumbled across things in Japantown. And I started seeing all the books in Kinokuniya and recognizing, oh yeah, I've seen some of that. I've seen some of this, you know. And then I started paying attention to the schedule of the art house theaters when they would be showing stuff.
You kind of start looking for that treasure.
Yeah, and you're looking for it and you're hunting because it's so elusive. You're willing to put in a lot of effort just to get that little tiny thing because that's all you can get. And it's incredibly cool. Nowadays, I go to the dealer's room and there's a ton of stuff. And it's incredibly cool. So I have to find an incredibly cool thing I'm interested in, you know.
Yeah, that's right. There's definitely a lot more access to all this material, especially with the internet. The internet is like an open door for pretty much almost anything that you want nowadays.
The thing is, though, there's a lot of old shows you can't get. So yeah, internet's good if you walk into streaming sites for the new shows. If you're looking for something from the 1970s, it's been difficult until recently. Now, at least Discotheque is releasing a lot of those old shows. So, you know, it's like, you know, watching Cutie Honey on DVD and going, God, 1972 children's program. And if you put it on American TV, parents would be in an uproar because of the humor poking fun of adults. It often has a sexual component and stuff.
Oh my.
You know, and stupid adults.
Yeah.
Well, it's like Dragon Ball.
Well, it's definitely a different culture. They have certain things that they accept, or more willing to accept, that are different from the Western culture.
Right.